Let's go now to Kayla Lucky for the weather news. Kayla?
Thanks, Kari. Here at the Weather Studio, we're taking a look at two of the most popular vacation spots, California and Florida. Down in Florida, they experienced an EF3 tornado this week as it had over 152-mile-per-hour winds in Century, Florida. The tornado lasted almost 17 miles and caused damage to numerous cars and buildings. Luckily, there were no fatalities reported. Meanwhile, in California, people were soaking up the sun and having a great time on the local beaches as they've been experiencing record-breaking highs temperatures throughout the week. The temperatures reached as high as the mid-80s along the coast, and the summer-like heat spell is about to continue for the rest of the week. Now, while they have been seeing all that sun, it can be a bad thing as they are experiencing a drought right now, and this is partly due to the jet stream and the California ridge. Now, the jet stream goes from the west to the east, and it has these ridges and these troughs. Now we're going to look at the California ridge, which is located here, and that brings in sunnier conditions and drier weather into California, which is aiding that drought that they're seeing. As we look at the drought monitor for 6 months back, we can see how that ridge is affecting the drought and bringing in those extreme conditions. As we look back to a month ago, we can see how in Washington and Oregon they're starting to see some relief out there, and that is because that drought or that ridge is starting to break down, which is actually bringing rain into that region. However, California, it doesn't look too good for you, and you could be seeing some drought for a little while longer. Now, as everyone remembers waking up to frost in the morning, and there is a reason why this delicate phenomenon is occurring.
Every once in a while, in the dead of winter, Mother Nature gives us something beautiful.
Like all the trees are completely white, and it makes for really good photography, and it's basically like living in a little winter wonderland.
He's talking about frost, which he says forms when there's water in the air and freezing temperatures.
So you'll see frost on the ground. If it's cold enough, then you also see it on objects like trees and cars.
He also says there are different types of frost, the first being hoarfrost.
You can get these really neat patterns that basically come out from the objects, and so it's very delicate, so if you touch it, it will fall off, but like when you see all the trees covered in white, that's usually what's happening.
The other type is rime frost.
And so in freezing fog, we actually have water in the air, little tiny cloud droplets at ground level.
It's common with rime frost to see only one side of a tree covered. Hoarfrost will cover an entire object. One of Aaron's favorite frost memories is from a snowmobile race.
I was just out in the country, and it was very serene because the winds were still, and you could see the fresh traction, the snow from the animals, and it was just serene and peaceful.
Next time you find yourself in a winter wonderland, you'll know there might be more than one type of frost at work. Reporting for Studio One, I'm Phoebe Eichhorst.
Now when the sun comes up, that frost is all gone, so it's important to go out and enjoy it while you can. And that brings us to our weather question of the week. What was the costliest drought in U.S. history? And those years range from 850 to 1090 and from 2001 to 2003. And Kari, you might be wondering why we know that there's a drought in 850, and that is actually due to scientists taking a look at ice cores and tree rings.
Wow, that's unbelievable that they can go back that far. Thanks, Kayla. Avery, now let's join Kayla for the final look at the weather. Kayla?
Thanks, Kari. As we look at the temperatures for the week, and the West Coast, it's going to stay pretty warm in our region, or out west, and in California, they could be seeing some record-breaking temperatures again this week. However, it's going to stay pretty chilly down in places like Florida, and they could hit lows in the mid-40s. As we go into precipitation for the week, much of the United States is going to stay drier. However, on the East Coast, they could be seeing some snow, and down south, we could see some rain. And that brings us to our weather question of the week. And that answer is actually C, the drought of 1987 to 1989. Now, Kari, it cost almost $40 billion.
Thanks, Kayla.